Alright, so tonight's lesson is lesson 108, and we are learning about schedules. In this lesson, we will use schedules to solve elapsed time problems. A schedule is a list of times and events that shows when the events are planned to happen. So just a type of schedule that you see every day is something that I put on the board. So you see what we're doing at what time, and then how long or the elapsed time that event is going to be. So I know that you picked up a sheet that had the two different schedules. So make sure that you glued or taped that into your notebook first, because we're going to use that instead of having you draw all these boxes. It would take a very long time. So make sure you have that printed or glued into your notebook before we begin, because we're going to use the very first one to start. So I'm going to try and zoom in so that you can read it, but just also follow along on yours. That might be the best way. So we're going to start with the first one. Example number 1. The schedule of events for the state track meet is shown in the program. So this is kind of like our program that we're using. Daphne qualified to run both the 300-meter low hurdles. I'm going to go ahead and find that for us. The 300-meter low hurdles, which is right here. And the 200-meter dash. So I'm going to find the 200-meter dash. Her second race starts how many minutes after the start of her first race? So what we're really trying to find out is how much time is going on between these two events in her track meet. Okay, so I'm going to move my paper over here, and I'm going to write down the two different times. So I have 3:10 and I have 3:40. So I'm going to write down 3:10 p.m. and 3:40 p.m. Okay. So when we look at these two, basically we're going to try to figure out, the difference or how long it takes from her first race to her second race. And normally I would have you draw kind of those triangles for the arrows and then the half circle for the minutes. But if we look, this is in the same hour. It's from 3:10 to 3:40. So how many minutes are between 3:10 to get to 3:40? And this is just really a simple subtraction or addition problem. But if I add 30 minutes onto 3:10, or I take 30 minutes away from 3:40 p.m., I would get the time. So this is 30 minutes. So our question says, how many minutes after the start of her first race does her second race? And it is 30 minutes. So just as simple as that. We're just really looking to read schedules and determine how many minutes are in between each, or even hours. Okay, here is the second one. David planned a round-trip flight from Oklahoma City to Indianapolis and back to Oklahoma City. Here is David's flight itinerary. Okay, so first he leaves at 6:11. He leaves Oklahoma City, and then he arrives in Chicago. Then he comes to Chicago. He's in Chicago. His flight leaves at 9:43, and it arrives in Indianapolis at 10:38. Then he leaves Indianapolis 7 days later, from August 22nd to August 29th. He leaves Indianapolis at 9:58 and gets to St. Louis at 11:03. And then he's in St. Louis. He leaves at 12:04. Finally gets back at 1:33. Okay, so this is his flight itinerary. So David needs to change planes on his way to Indianapolis and on his way back to Oklahoma City. In which city does he change planes? How much time does David have in the schedule to make those plane changes? Okay, so David's trip to Indianapolis has two legs. One from Oklahoma City to Chicago. Okay, so right here, Oklahoma City to Chicago, with a scheduled arrival at 8:09, and one from Chicago to Indianapolis, okay, with a scheduled departure at 9:43 So David's trip to Indianapolis, he stops in Chicago and has how much time to schedule or to change planes? How much time? So basically, when you go to an airport and you get on a flight, sometimes you have to stop in a different city before you get to the city that you're going to. So what we're trying to do is he leaves Oklahoma and he lands in Chicago. How much time does he have in his layover to get on his plane then from Chicago to Indiana? So if he arrives at 8:09, I'm going to write this over here. He arrives at 8:09 a.m. Okay? And then he leaves Chicago to go to Indiana or Indianapolis at 9:43. So we're trying to find out how much time did he have to stay in Chicago before his flight left. Okay, so this is where we're going to use our triangles and half moons. So I'm trying to get from 8 to 9. So I'm going to make 1 hour. I draw a triangle, and we're now at 9:09. And now I need to find out how many minutes it takes from 9:09 to 9:43. Okay, so I'm going to take my 43 minutes, and I'm just going to subtract 9, 3, 13, 4, 3 minus 0 is 3. Okay, so 34 minutes. So if you can see how I'm doing this here, I'm taking 8:09, making a triangle for my 1 hour, and then I get to 9:09, and I notice, okay, now I'm in the same hour. How many minutes from 9:09 to 9:43? 34. So how much time does he have? He has 1 hour and 34 minutes. Okay, so what we're trying to do with this lesson, this really short lesson, is trying to just determine how much time has gone by. So when we do this in class, we'll be doing, obviously our two examples have been 30 minutes and then an hour and 30 minutes. We're going to be doing examples that have longer elapsed time. So we'll be practicing this. And this is your lesson practice. Let me zoom out so you can see it. Okay. And here it is. Write your favorite math concept that you have learned this year. So what has been your favorite thing? Has it been ratios? Has it been reciprocals? Has it been multiplying fractions? What has been your favorite thing or something that you think you are really good at doing in math this year?